De'Aaron Fox hits a three-quarters court buzzer beater at practice, and head coach Mike Brown calls out Davion Mitchell for a teaching moment in front of the media. We'll talk about it on today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all regular season and all off season. Today presented by BetOnline. They have you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports producer and reporter at ABC 10 News. I'm currently back in the ABC 10 News studio. Just got here from Sacramento Kings training camp. This was day 4 of training camp, I believe. They had an off day yesterday, did not participate in training camp. This is the final training camp media availability that we have before the team leaves tomorrow afternoon to head to Los Angeles for their preseason opener. And thankfully, today was the most access, the most that we've gotten to see and hear, period. And I'll have everything for you that we saw. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the clips that I got of the 5-on-5 scrimmages that we witnessed. And I'm going to explain to you a teaching moment that happened between head coach Mike Brown and Kings point guard Davion Mitchell. I will get to all that. Plus, you're going to hear today from Harrison Barnes. You're going to hear today from Terence Davis. And you're going to hear today from Mike Brown. So we have a jam-packed episode of Locked On Kings here for you. And let's start with what we witnessed right when we walked in. And we were so excited to see 5-on-5. Now, the 5 that we're playing, De'Aaron Fox's team featured Fox, Barnes, Sabonis, Kevin Huerter, and I can't honestly remember who the 5th is. And then on the other side, it was Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, Rashawn Holmes. And I'm also forgetting who the 5th is on that side. I have no idea if these are the lineups that we are going to see on opening night, or rather on when the Kings play their preseason game on Monday. Mike Brown, you're going to hear later on, addresses the starting lineups and addresses that the starting 5 that he's going to roll out on Monday could change before opening night, but it's the 5 that he's thinking of right now. So we'll have to see what that 5 looks like. But in this 5-on-5, what we saw essentially was both teams trying to play fast, but De'Aaron Fox's team was kicking the living crap out of Malik Monk and Davion Mitchell's team. In fact, I think the final score ended up being like 12-1 or 12-2, and the basket scored for the gray team, Davion Mitchell's team, was scored by Malik Monk in the final seconds of the scrimmage. Now, we were only there for maybe the final minute and a half of the scrimmage, so we didn't see a whole heck of a lot. But we did get to witness De'Aaron Fox launching a three-quarters court Hail Mary shot just for the hell of it, even though his team was way ahead, and he banks it in off of the glass. So a fun moment there to end. Glad we witnessed that, and I was able to capture that. Again, if you're an audio listener, you can go to either my Twitter at MattGeorgeSac, where I posted it, or go and watch this podcast episode on YouTube so you can see all of the footage that I got of the 5-on-5. After that, they did a free throw shooting, a run sprints drill. And I'm actually going to get to that in a second because I want to go chronologically here. So the Kings do, or they finish their scrimmage, right? And Mike Brown brings everybody together and he singles out Davion Mitchell. Now I listened to the audio back. I was able to hear what Mike was saying. The mic didn't pick it up. Our microphones didn't pick it up clearly enough for me to use. There's just too much white noise and feedback. So I'll basically describe what Mike Brown was saying. Basically, he singled Davion Mitchell out as the point guard of the team that got their ass kicked. And he wasn't blaming Davion Mitchell per se or putting all the weight on him. But essentially what he said was, like, look, you got destroyed. Your team got destroyed. And when we needed more out of you, when we needed more energy and everything, you didn't lead. Like you weren't the one out there that was trying to push the tempo. You weren't trying to help your teammates by helping yourself and getting more involved and getting more energetic. It sounds like basically Davion's team was kind of going through the motions a little bit, and that's why they got stomped. And what Coach Brown was saying is, look, you're the leader of this second unit. You're the leader of this group. If you aren't leading them and pushing them and demanding a change when things aren't going right and being the catalyst for that change, then we're going to lose and we're going to be in big trouble. And he talked about the difficulty of the point guard position, and he talked about how both Davion and De'Aaron Fox need to be good in those moments, better in those moments, if they're not willing to both lead by example, but also hold their teammates accountable and create change, create energy when things aren't going right. If they continue just to go through the motions, then the Kings are going to get destroyed nightly. And Mike was saying this in front of the entire team. Again, he wasn't calling out Mitchell in the sense of like yelling at him, although I was told by someone who was there witnessing the whole practice that at one point he did pull Davion aside and pull some of his Davion's teammates aside who weren't performing well, and kind of got in their face and said, look, we need to be better, and tried to give them a little energy as they were going through the motions and not really as sharp as they needed to be. But this particular moment that we witnessed was not him screaming and yelling and anything like that. And it was like a reluctance to Davion. I'm calling you out, not because it's all your fault, but because you are the point guard. And as the point guard, you are the quarterback. You take responsibility for how the team is playing, and his unit was not performing up to the standard that the Sacramento Kings expect. So it was a very interesting teaching moment. Davion took everything in stride, listened, nodded, answered some questions. After they broke apart, his teammates picked him up a little bit. I think I overheard Malik Monk saying it's on us too. It's not all on you. And that leads to kind of the redemption moment for Davion in this practice. Is they go over to do their end of practice drill, the free throw or run sprints drill that we saw on day one, which is 3 consecutive players have to make 2 free throws in a row, or the team runs sprints. Well, I think Harrison Barnes stepped up and made both of his free throws. I might be getting this wrong, and if you're watching, you're going to actually see how it really went. The first couple of times, I know Keegan Murray missed a free throw, forcing the team to run. But then after Kevin Herter and somebody else, I apologize, my memory is terrible. I should have looked at the film before this. But after a couple of guys made consecutive free throws back to back, Davion Mitchell steps up to the free throw line. He has to hit 2 free throws in a row, and practice is over. If he misses one, sprints are run again, and they start all over. And Davion nails both free throws to end practice. So after this moment where he's singled out at center court and a lot of pressure is put on him, and it's I'm sure, tough moment for him to hear and take that criticism, although I know Davion is an open book and he doesn't take that stuff personally, at least as far as I understand. But after that moment of leading by example, he steps up in the highest pressure situation that you can get in this drill, having to hit 2 free throws and it's over, or it's basically win the game or continue the game, essentially. He hits both free throws in that moment. All of his teammates come, give him high fives, dap him up, and that's how practice ends. So I thought it was a cool moment to see a little bit of that redemption. It was very cool to hear that teaching from Mike Brown. And what we've heard consistently, and again, you're going to hear from Harrison Barnes and Terence Davis here, is that Mike has been pushing this team hard. He's been working them hard in practice, and kind of a drill sergeant approach to things, has been preaching accountability and making sure these guys are giving 110%. And we got to witness a little bit of that at practice today. We got to witness a moment of Mike holding his players accountable, holding his backup point guard accountable in Davion Mitchell, who has an extremely important role, and then even getting De'Aaron Fox involved to some extent as well. So there are high expectations on the Kings point guards this year, rightfully so. I actually asked Coach Brown about those expectations, which you're going to hear in a little bit. But overall, today was absolutely the best day of access that we've gotten to see. Both teams were pushing the tempo, trying to get up really, really fast and up and down the floor fast, 5-on-5. Defense was pretty locked in, pretty low scoring considering the scrimmage. Obviously, to see De'Aaron Fox's team only give up 1 or 2 points, essentially give up only 1 basket, is definitely encouraging to see. And the free throw shooting was better today compared to what we saw in day one. So really only positives that I took from this training camp today, even if Davion Mitchell's team in the second unit that did feature Keegan Murray, they struggled. But to see that teaching moment was really, really cool. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed hearing that. And I look forward to seeing what everything that has happened this week, how that translates on the floor come Monday. But before I get to you hearing the audio from Harrison Barnes and his conversation with us, his today was really, really good. Plus, you're going to hear from Terence Davis, and Mike Brown's media scrum was also really, really good too. You're going to hear all of that here in just a second after I tell you about a great sponsor here, our title sponsor of today's Locked On Kings podcast, that is BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting information this season. That's both college and NFL. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every single game that you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores for every single sport out there. And that includes, of course, the NBA. Once NBA preseason begins, you can bet on that. There's already great future and prop bets out there right now. I would take the over personally on the Kings over-under win totals, which I think last I checked were 33.5 wins. I would take the over on that. I think the Kings are winning more than 34 games this year. You can also bet on Keegan Murray to win Rookie of the Year. There's so many fun prop bets out there around the Sacramento Kings right now. And then when it comes to in-game live betting or pre-game lines and things like that for the Kings all season long, nobody does it better than BetOnline. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events. That includes, of course, the MLB with the playoffs coming up right now, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
It's been good. Guys have been getting up and down, competing. Coaches, they love their drill work, so we've been getting after that. So it's been good. It's been good.
When you see, I know you have familiarity with Mike Brown. Did you think that maybe there were some guys on this team that might not know quite what to expect, and they had to kind of sort of seek it out for themselves?
For sure. The thing about Coach, he's going to be meticulous. So I think with all of our drills, just him being about the details, us just going over the reps before we play. And then him just being on us, when we're playing, to make sure that it's tight, make sure we're doing things the right way. Not only thinking about, Monday, but just kind of the start of the season.
So with camp, is it more physically or mentally exhausting when you're at this point of camp?
I don't know if exhausting is the right word. I just think everyone has a sense of urgency, to have it come together. It's not going to be built overnight, but I think guys, are putting forth the right effort, the right attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, grasp these concepts, grasp what we're doing offensively, what we're doing defensively, and go from there.
Harrison, as a veteran, how much do you embrace this attention to detail that you take from Brown?
It's great. I think you can always get better regardless of age. So for us to be able to just come together and, we have a lot of conversations about, what we're doing here, what we're doing there. But I think in the end, we're all on the same page.
Is there a possibility that this is a reset button for you here in Sacramento, having a new coaching staff and sort of a positive vibe?
I mean, obviously there's been a lot of turnovers, since I've been here. But, I think for us, it's a new year, new group. And I think that's the focus. It's not necessarily about trying to, look back at past years or compare or do this and the third. Group that we have here is excited to be here, motivated, and from coaches to players, I think that's what we're focusing on.
Because of that turnover, was there any surprise that you were standing here on media day?
Hey man, you know how the NBA is. I check Woj, I check Shams. They still got me here. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'll give my best effort.
We heard Coach Brown talking about the difficulty of the point guard position with Davion and De'Aaron Fox. How do you assess the work that they're doing, and how do you and the others try and take some of that load off of them at that position?
I mean, there are quarterbacks. There are floor generals. I mean, it's always going to be tough in this league. You look at who they're having to guard night in, night out, defensively, and then offensively, to power the offense, run the group, settle the group down. It's different responsibilities. So I think both of them are doing a good job of setting the tone, for us in practice, for us in games. Like we were talking about at the end there, when things get chaotic, it's going to start with the guy who has the ball in their hands. So they've been doing well.
Does this first preseason test come at a good time for you?
It's good. It's not gonna be perfect. We're gonna have a lot of different lineups. Everyone's gonna play and all of that. But I think the biggest thing is us just continuing to build. And the biggest thing we're gonna judge ourselves off is how we compete.
You got a few more questions, guys. Harrison, what kind of stress is it when you keep hearing your name mentioned as a potential trade piece? Does that take a toll on you at all?
No, I mean I'm 10 years in. I mean that's just part of the business. You don't really pay too much attention to that. The biggest thing, like I said, is just getting ready for opening night. You know what I'm saying? That's my focus. Is the guys on this court, the coaching staff, us building that trust now, so that when things get going and adversity hits, you know what I'm saying, you have a base of a relationship to draw on.
You got to play with Domas a little bit last year, obviously, but how are you hoping your chemistry grows going into this year?
I mean, Domas is easy to play with. I mean, you just have to just move and cut. I mean, it's not too hard. So it's a joy playing with him. He makes the game easy. Unselfish guy. Gets extra possessions. Obviously can score. So it's easy playing with him.
And Harrison, your family has put some roots here with the baby and your wife and being here a little while. Do you envision a longer term future than just the coming year here? And how much do you want to maybe get extended and be able to know what the future holds?
I mean, it's nice to be settled. And I remember when I first came here, I think our first game was against the Heat. And Coach Yeager threw me out there, and I knew no plays. I'm running up and down. I've been in sack for 48 hours, you know what I'm saying? And I played like 30 or however many minutes that night, right? And you're just like super chaotic to now, having a couple years here, getting familiar, getting settled. That stuff means a lot. So, to be able to be here, obviously would love to have more wins and would love to, have accomplished more from a team perspective. But, it's been great developing a relationship with these guys, this organization, and going from there. This is a new group, you know what I mean? For a guy like Kevin Huerter, for a guy like Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, these guys are wearing a Sacramento Kings uniform for the very first time. So they don't necessarily have that burden on them of however many years. They're saying, look, I want to come here and make my mark as a King today. And I think that's really what it's about for our unit, for our coaching staff, for everyone who's here right now, is we need to establish our identity as this group in this year right now. And that's our focus, is, from day one, being a team that competes, being a team that is going to get 50-50 basketballs, is going to rebound, is going to talk on defense. And then, from there, if we make shots, great. But if not, we have a base of who we are, as opposed to, in times past, just kind of relying on guys getting hot, hopefully shots falling, you know what I'm saying, digging ourselves out of a hole and having some miraculous comeback to try to win games.
Mike, you got your first preseason game on Monday. How do you handle that in terms of your lineup, your rotation, how much you want to kind of go with what you might anticipate for the regular season?
Everybody's been busting their behinds here, and so if I can, I'm going to try to play everybody. This first game, we'll give guys that are going to probably be in the starting lineup and be in the heavy mix. We may give them one or two goes in the first half, and but if we can, we'd like to get everybody on the floor, especially in this first game.
Do you start the five that you're kind of looking at right now, or do you mix that up?
I'll probably start the five that have a chance to start, but don't, that group may not start at the end of the day. We may change it up the next game.
What's the goal of this first preseason game?
I want to see us compete. We have values that we've laid down and some expectations. So the biggest thing is it's going to be sloppy. It's going to be ugly. We could be up big. We could be down big. I don't know. But no matter what the score is or who's out there, I want to compete on both sides of the ball.
This might be a little too early to tell, but I've heard a lot about and seen what you typically known for kind of playing a pretty tight rotation, not going too deep into the lineup. Can you do that here, or do you feel like you're going to probably go pretty deep in the lineup in the regular season?
Yeah, so and I'll be the first to admit, when I was a younger coach, I'm still young, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to put that out there. You're tight all the time, and you want to win and be perfect all the time. But I learned a lot from Steve, and one of the things that he does is he tries to go 11 deep. I actually handled the rotations for us in Golden State last 6 years, and it was hard to go 11 deep. But if I can go 10 deep during the regular season, that'd be great. because what it does is it keeps guys engaged, and that 9th, 10th guy can change from game to game or whatever. And so if we can figure out a way to go 10 deep, for me, that's ideal. 9 for sure is something that I definitely like to hit during the regular season, so that, as you know, that injuries are a huge part of the game, and you want to make sure that everybody is game ready as much as possible if you have an injury or something like that too.
Is there anyone that's jumping out at you that maybe's got in the conversation for that 9 and 10 spot that you didn't expect?
A lot of guys have stepped up right now, but I'm not even sure who the first 5 are going to be quite yet. Obviously Fox is going to start for us. Doma's going to start for us. HB is going to start for us. But we're kind of up in there a little bit with the 2 and the 4 spot. Now there's some guys that we feel have a real good chance at starting for us in those spots. But we're going to keep probably mixing those 2 spots around to see what we can get.
Mike, you've talked about expectations, and we overheard a little bit. You talked about how difficult that point guard position is. What are the expectations that you have for your floor generals?
Those guys are the head of the snake on both sides of the ball, and so they always have to be engaged. They have to know what everybody's job is on the floor, because if they don't know what this guy's supposed to do out on the floor, they don't really know what to run or how to run it or where to go with it. They should be able to have a great understanding of what we're trying to do, especially offensively, and then they should be engaged all the time. You got to be engaged. You got to try to uplift your teammates, and all those little things that that point guard position has to do. It's just no different than quarterback in the NFL. It's a tough position, but we have quality guys that can play that position at a real high level.
You're gonna have less than a week of camp before your first preseason test. Obviously coming up. Is it come at a good time? I know coaches seem to probably want more.
Yeah. I love practice. I know our guys wouldn't want to do this, or they don't even want to hear this, but I practice for 30 straight days before a game, but it wouldn't be any fun to those guys, and those guys matter way more than I do. It's about them, not about me. So let's go. Let's have some fun in LA.
Enjoying camp so far?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it. It's been quite a bit, but that's what we need for sure.
What's kind of stood out from a Mike Brown camp?
Just the drills, he's very drill oriented, and man, we've been getting to it. The 2 days been great. Everything, man.
Anything is a surprise to you that you weren't expecting?
No. I knew he was. I think his dad or granddad is a military guy, so I knew he was gonna drill us for sure. But definitely been great, man. It's been great. Just getting to it for sure. It's been 6, 7, 8 months almost for me, so I've just been enjoying all of this.
How is the wrist, and how has your recovery been this summer?
It's been great. Hemmed up, right hand hemmed up for 8 weeks. I was kind of trying to do 6, but they pushed me to 8. I was trying to get out of it, but just working on my left hand for about those 8 weeks, 6 weeks, and it's been good, man. It's been a real process for sure.
First preseason game coming up on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you guys looking forward to getting out there and kind of putting some of this stuff into?
For me, I've been ready to play another team for, like I said, 7, 8 months for sure. But as a whole, it's just going to be great. We've been beating up on each other, drilling each other. Just going at one another, and it's been real healthy and great competition here. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
What are some of the highlights, in these practices the past few days on the offensive end, the defensive end, or the whole package?
Well, just us putting it all together. You know what I'm saying? The plays, everybody learning on the fly. Just like I said, just putting it together, man. We're really playing off for each other. We got great passing big. Sabonis, he's one of the best in the business. So it's been great, man. It's been great to get. I think I was on the first team the second day at camp, and just playing with him. That was my first time actually just playing with him, man. It felt really good. So I was excited about that.
Do you have an established role, or do you know for sure the kind of role that you're going to be playing even in scrimmage?
Well, like I said, I'm just here to hoop, man. I'm just here to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? This is my 4th coach in 4 years, so kind of hard to, get a rhythm and things of that sort. But that's no excuse. Like I said, I'm just here to play ball, man. That's something I've been doing since I was 6, so I've been enjoying it ever since.
When you were healed up as a shooter as you are, did it take a minute to kind of find that stroke again and find that comfortability?
It was, my wrist was a little achy at first when I first got out the sling, I guess you can call it that. But about a week later, 2 weeks, it's been feeling really awesome. I don't have much pain out of it. Just feel normal, man, for sure.
Does this team feel different or better than it's been? It was when you got here, it was last year?
Yeah, I mean, I came over in March 2021, so I had my first training camp with Sacramento last year. And just by that training camp to this one is completely different camp, man. Like the drills, how long we're in here, what we are trying to accomplish, everything. It's been great. So definitely different, definitely better. We got better players. Everyone's, you know what I'm saying? Everyone likes each other. So, that's great, so definitely, man, for sure.
Is there a learning?
We only have time for 2 more.
Is there a learning curve for you playing with a passing big like Domas?
Oh yeah, no doubt. One thing that stuck out to me when I was working out with him one time, he told me this. He said, "Man, with guards like you and Monk and guys like that, he's like, man, you guys don't look to pass me the ball. Like I'm trying to get you guys open. I'm trying, just play off me, things of that sort." He said, and when he told me that, I just looked at him just like, man, you're an all-star, bro. You telling me to score the ball, And so that relationship there is just everything, man. So I feel great about, going into preseason to the season. Just knowing I have a big like that, man, that's everything for sure.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from Harrison, TD, and Coach Brown. A lot of really, really good nuggets in there, especially stuff from Harrison Barnes. I'm just so impressed by how well-spoken Harrison is. And while he didn't directly talk about his future in Sacramento, he did mention how nice it is to stay put, told kind of a cool story about when he first arrived playing for Coach Yeager and didn't really know everything to where he's at now, although he's gone through a lot of turnover here in Sacramento. A lot of players have gone through a lot of turnover here in Sacramento recently. So I hope Harrison sticks around. I've talked about this a lot this offseason. I don't know if it's the Kings' plan to roll Harrison into this season and take the risk of losing him next offseason, but maybe this team is good enough this year and Harrison is a big enough part of that where he wants to resign and he wants to stick around. I'm not trading Harrison Barnes if short term it makes the Sacramento Kings worse, even with the risk of losing HB, and I just don't know how you replace HB at this point in time. So I'm happy that he's here. He's very well spoken. I always enjoy hearing from him, and then some great stuff from Mike Brown there as well. I hope you listen to what he said about the point guards and that point guard position, that question that I asked him. So great stuff. Very excited to see this team play on Monday and see them really, we get our first look at what these rotations look like, what these lineups will look like, how they played together, not just against each other, but against a legitimate NBA team in legitimate NBA competition. So very excited about that. Also, I'm not sure if you saw, the Seattle Mariners clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2001, I believe. A 21-year playoff drought finally snapped in Seattle. What does that mean? Well, that means that the Sacramento Kings now own the longest playoff drought in North American sports. I hope that comes to an end this year. Congratulations if you're a Seattle Mariners fan. Congratulations to all Mariners fans. They've waited a long time for that. For them to have that moment, it made me excited for what that moment is going to be like in Sacramento, hopefully as early as this May coming up next year. So check out that moment and just imagine what that's going to be like from a Sacramento Kings perspective. Very, very cool. Appreciate your support here of the Locked On Kings podcast today. I'm planning on releasing a podcast episode tomorrow with just kind of expectations and what we want to see from game one of preseason. I will not be doing a post-game pod on game one of preseason because I'm actually going to be in Santa Clara at the Monday night game covering the 49ers versus the Rams, and will not have enough time to actually produce a post-game podcast. So my reaction to game one of preseason podcast will be on Tuesday of next week. But again, expect a podcast tomorrow of just pre-expectations or establishing expectations and a wish list for what we want to see in game 1 of preseason. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You have been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.